It's Audit Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gerke, and for today's show, I'll give you the normal games list for the NBA, the NHL, and college basketball. So that means the games to watch and the winners for that night and tomorrow night, since I'm on a modified schedule where I'm doing a show every other day. So in this case, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the reason I'm doing that is because there's not a whole lot right now. It's just the regular season stuff. And the NFL's winding down, so I got to prep up for when March Madness comes around. So this is the modified schedule. It's great to be back. So anyway, for today's schedule, I'm going to be doing the games list in the other three. The NBA, college basketball, and the NHL. And I'll give you my thoughts on Phillip Rivers retiring. Yes, it's official for those that haven't heard all day. But he has officially retired. I'll give you my thoughts on where he probably ranks, in my opinion. But it's my show. I know people don't care about the opinion, but it is my show. And what else? Oh, the NBA now has a no hugging rule. I'll get into that. Due to the COVID protocols in the NBA, the NBA is trying to prevent the spread. So, of course, they're going to create something stupid where you can't even hug players on the court before the game even starts. You know, you've got security in midcourt. I'll read you that story as well. Plus some baseball news, including Michael Brantley getting a 2-year extension with the Astros. And Yankee fans, I know I've been putting this off, but I'll give you my thoughts on Corey Kluber coming to the Yankees as well. But first, we're going to get started with the games list. We're going to go into the NBA realm first. And then I'll lead in with the hugging story in the Before I Go segment. But we're going to get with the games list first. Let's start with the NBA. Where am I? There we go. Where am I? The NBA. Wizards, Hornets. That game is postponed. Nets, Cavaliers. I'm taking the Nets. Mavs, Pacers, I'm taking the Mavericks. Celtics, Sixers, I'm taking the Sixers. Pistons, Hawks, I'm taking the Atlanta Hawks. Heat, Raptors, I'm taking the Heat. Again, no pun intended. See, that I have to do that every time with the Miami Heat because, man, I'm taking the Heat. Well, yeah. So that's why I do the no pun intended every time. But anyway, I'm taking the Heat over the Pistons. Or not the Pistons. Sorry, the Heat over the Raptors. The Magic over the Timberwolves. The Suns over the Rockets. The Warriors over the Spurs. And the Clippers over the Kings. And the Grizzlies and Trailblazers got postponed. So that's today's schedule of games. As far as tomorrow's set of games, remember I'm on a modified schedule, so I'm going to do you guys one favor and do you tomorrow's games as well. So we're on to Thursday. Got Lakers, Bucks. I'm taking the Lakers. Pelicans, Jazz. I'm taking the Jazz. Knicks, Warriors, I am taking the Knickerbockers. And that's about it. Yep, there are only 3 games on Thursday. 2 of which are on TNT. Yep, 2 of them are on TNT. Lakers, Bucks is the first one on TNT. Again, I'm taking the Lakers. Pelicans, Jazz, I'm taking the Jazz. That's the second game on TNT. And the Knicks and the Warriors, I am taking the Knicks. So that's Thursday's schedule as well. I know that seemed quick, but because it was. When you only have 3 games on one day, it's kind of like, well, shoot. Okay. So now, the NBA fans, I'll get to the no hugging story in the Before I Go. In fact, in the Before I Go, I'm going to spend a lot of time on Phillip Rivers and where I think he should be, because he is a Hall of Famer in my opinion, more so than Eli Manning. But I'll throw in the no hugging story in a second. Or I'll throw a no hugging story in there to warm you up before I get to Phillip Rivers. But let's see. Let's go to college basketball now, and then the NHL stuff, and then we're going to jump right into Before I Go. College basketball. Top 25. There are 2 games postponed tonight. DePaul and Villanova. Villanova got postponed again. South Florida and Wichita State. That game also postponed. And then you got Baylor and Oklahoma State. I'm taking the Bears. After what they did to Kansas on Monday night, that team's for real. That team's for real up in Waco. You should be happy about that. And now, as far as Thursday, again, college basketball fans, I only focus on the top 25. If you want me to choose your team or go into your favorite conference, please leave it in your comments section. Okay, whether you're watching on IGTV, or Rumble. Please leave your suggestions in the comment section, please. Let's see. Let's go to Thursday. Got Michigan, Ohio State. I'm taking Michigan over Ohio State. In the football one, I would take Michigan as a fan, but in basketball, Michigan's the better basketball school. So I'm taking the Wolverines. There are 2 games that were postponed on Thursday as well. Iowa and Maryland and Indiana and Michigan State. Those games no longer exist. Or they'll be played later. And you got Georgia and South Carolina. I'm taking the Gamecocks of South Carolina. UConn over Tennessee. DePaul over Butler. Northwestern over Illinois. Wow, I feel bad for Illinois. Kentucky over Auburn. Oh, this is the women's side. Whoops. Oh, wow, I've been wrong this entire time. Okay. Scratch that. Whoops. Read the wrong list, everybody. God. See, every once in a while you forget. Okay, my bad. Let's go to Wednesday. I was looking up the women's basketball list. My bad. All right, so we're actually on the men's side. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games postponed tonight. Remember, we're on the men's list. If you were trying to follow along, you're like, what? Okay, my bad. Sorry, I have to laugh at myself for screwing that up. So where are we? We are at Wednesday. Providence and Creighton. I am taking the Blue Jays of Creighton over the Friars of Providence. Clemson over Georgia Tech. Houston over Tulsa. Wisconsin over Northwestern. And that's it for Wednesday. See, now we're on to tomorrow. Now we're on to tomorrow's schedule on the men's side. Sorry for all those that follow women's college basketball. You actually got yourself a lucky break. I actually did that by mistake. Okay, I know you guys are like, quit thinking about it. Just move on. It's like, how can you not? You made that random mistake once already. Okay. Indiana and Iowa and UCLA and Cal. I'm talking Thursday inside the top 25. Same rule applies. If you want me to follow your favorite conference or your favorite team, please leave it in the comments section, whether you're watching on Rumble or IGTV, or if you're listening to it, please leave it in the comments section from whatever app you're listening to, or listening to this on, if you're listening to the audio version as well. Let's see. Yeah, there's only 2 games on that Thursday inside the top 25. I'm taking Iowa over Indiana, and I am taking UCLA over Cal. Now we're good. I literally went, well, if you're a fan of women's college basketball, you actually got some free publicity on this show. Or not publicity, but you got some notoriety. And, or you got a quick little shout out. And for the men, you do your normal thing. So now we're going to jump to the NHL. We're going to jump to the NHL games for the next 2 days. And then I'll get into before I go with... Yeah, then I'll get into the before I go stuff to end today. Let's go to the NHL app. It's going to take a while for it to load, but while it does, again, hi, if you're on this, that was a random screw up, but at least you know what's going on in my head. Okay, here we go. The Minnesota Wild and Anaheim Ducks played their second game against each other this season. The Ducks won on Monday, 1-0. And can they do it again? Yes. I think I'll take the Ducks. I just think with a rebuilding team, you're going to have days where they're going to look good, and then they're going to fall apart the next day. But I'm going to take the Ducks over the Wild. Coyotes and Golden Knights. Vegas lost the first matchup of these two teams on Monday. They're going to bounce back and beat Arizona to get that split. So I'll take Vegas. Got Edmonton and Toronto. I'm taking the Oilers to beat the Maple Leafs. Or not the Oilers, sorry. I'm taking Toronto to beat Edmonton. That's final answer. Let's see. St. Louis Blues and San Jose Sharks. I'm taking the Blues to beat the Sharks. The Canadiens and the Canucks. I'm taking Vancouver over Montreal. So now we'll get to Thursday's list, and then I'll leave it with before I go. Here's Thursday's list of NHL games. I'm taking Philly to beat Boston. New Jersey to beat the Islanders. Tampa to beat Columbus. Winnipeg to beat Ottawa. Vancouver to beat Montreal a second time. And the Avalanche to beat the Kings. And the Panthers to beat the Hurricanes. Oh, wait, no, the Panthers and Hurricanes aren't playing. So that's a postponement. So, reboot. So the Panthers and Hurricanes are not playing. So the final list for Thursday's winners: Philly over Boston, New Jersey over the Islanders, Tampa over Columbus, Winnipeg over Ottawa, Vancouver over Montreal in round 2 of that matchup, and the Kings over the Avalanche. Or not the Kings, the Avalanche over the Kings. So that would be Thursday's list of games. Now we're going to jump right into before I go. I know this sounds like a complete mess, but it's not. There's some stories in this. In this before I go segment for today, I'm going to talk a lot about Phillip Rivers. But first, I want to get to this story out of the NBA where, let me get back to the ESPN app. This is hilarious. I'll leave this link in the episode description, but this story's hilarious. After witnessing some opposing players regarding new league rules against unnecessary contact on game nights, the NBA is moving team security into the mid-court area to dissuade violations that include hugging and handshakes. As coronavirus infections increased amid a darkening pandemic, the NBA recently tightened regulations on players and staff, including several meant to lessen the possibility of on-court transmission. Despite those changes, there were still instances of traditional player contact in post-game scenarios, which led the NBA to issue a memo Wednesday reaffirming the rules that require teams to remain on their half of the court in a pregame and halftime warm-ups and limits physical contact to include only elbows or fist bumps. High fives, hugs, and handshakes aren't allowed, nor our extended post-game conversations. In other words, the NBA is basically the wokest, proves why they're the wokest and stupidest league ever. Now, I know I put the NBA on this show just for the sake of, what the games are and just so I'm aware of what's going on in the league. But this story is just flat out ridiculous. It's that. What? Anyway. You don't have to close that one. Alright, so. Now that shenanigan's over with. Now that shenanigan's over with. And now I'm back in a rhythm. Sorry. Alright, so I went through the no hugging story. In the NBA, they're going to put mid-court security in there, which is lame. But in actuality, so what? Alright, so let's get to Phillip Rivers. I know that's like, you're discombobulated. No, I am. At least for right now, but that's my own fault. Let's see. So let's get to the Phillip Rivers retiring story. Phillip Rivers is retiring from football, ending the 17-year career as one of the most prolific quarterbacks in NFL history. Rivers, who spent the past season with the Indianapolis Colts after 16 with the LA Chargers, said in a statement Wednesday that playing quarterback in the NFL was a childhood dream. While Rivers never played in a Super Bowl, it was one of the few glaring omissions on an otherwise remarkable resume. He ranks 5th in the NFL history with 63,440 passing yards behind only Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre. The 8-time Pro Bowler also is 5th in league history with 421 touchdown passes. Again, only Brady, Brees, Manning, and Favre have more. Now, just by that paragraph alone, wouldn't you think he was more Hall of Famer than Eli Manning? I mean, those that listened to this show way back in February, when Eli announced his retirement back in 2020, I read you Eli's statistics. You can always Google those up and compare them to Phillip Rivers. But just with that story alone, Phillip is more of a Hall of Famer than Eli Manning. I mean, I'll Google it up for you guys, and that's fine. But it won't matter at all. But Phillip Rivers, congratulations on a great career. Even though you didn't win a championship, your numbers are good enough to put you in the Hall of Fame. And you're an all-around great guy. And whatever you do after football will be just as good. So, this has been Before I Go. Now, for the obligatory stuff. Thank you for listening and watching to the Austin's Audit Podcast. I have been your host, Austin Gerke. Don't forget, you can listen to this show on Podbean. Just search for the Austin's Audit Podcast. You can also listen to this show on Spotify, Google, Apple if you know the trick, Deezer, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Pandora as well. And for my Amazon Music listeners, just have your Alexa-enabled device and just say, "Hey Alexa, play the Austin's Audit Podcast on Amazon Music." You can also watch this show on Rumble or IGTV. For Rumble people, just search AD Gerke, that is AD, and my last name, which is Gehrke. Again, that is AD Gehrke. Make sure that search is set to channels, not videos. And click subscribe and you'll get all the episodes up to this point, from episode 1, which I did way back on January 18th, 2020, all the way up to episode 146, which is today. You can also, I know I skipped the Twitter one, but Twitter can go suck one, but I'll still do it anyway. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @Austin_Gerke for post-show interaction. You can also follow the show's Facebook page. Just search for the Austin's Audit Podcast on Facebook. I did Rumble. Again, if you're on if you want to watch this show and see this sexy face on Rumble, just search AD Gurkey. The only letter in that search that is capitalized is the letter A. That is AD Gurkey. That is A-D in my last name, which is G-H-R-K-E. And for all the people watching on IGTV, you will get this soon. I'll upload it to Instagram as soon as possible. You can also, if you do follow me on Instagram, you can also follow this show, the audio version, on SoundCloud as well. I always forget that one, but that's there. And then once Parler's back, all you Parler people will get it as well. Until then, I know the last middle part was kind of a discombobulated show, but it's still here. I will see you guys Friday for Prediction Friday. And until then, I'm Austin Gurkey, and you've been watching or listening to the Austin Dotted Podcast, and I will see you guys Friday. Peace out.